So this month we have been, as I already said, using Ernest Holmes' Living the Science of Mind as our theme book. Because in it, it provides a very clear, very direct path to living a life of peace and fulfillment and joy. Now, it doesn't promise, nor do any of our Science of Mind teachings promise, that we'll never have a little, blip in the road, that we'll never have a hill or a valley to face, because that is part of the human experience. But what this book, as well as all of Ernest Holmes' books, which comprise our beautiful Science of Mind, faith, philosophy, and way of life, what they do promise is a roadmap to help us maneuver, if that's the right word, navigate is a better word, those hills and valleys, so that they aren't overwhelming, and they aren't, and that we are absolutely able to move through them, past them, over them, under them, around them, whatever it takes, to move to that place of even greater fulfillment, even deeper peace, even more happiness, and most importantly, and actually the base of all of it, a deeper and sweeter connection with the divine of our being. That's what our teachings offer us, a way to do that. So I'm going to jump right into today, because we have a lot of really cool stuff to do today. And I want to focus on, and I am going to focus on one particular chapter out of the Living the Science of Mind that is entitled, How to Build Your Tomorrow Today. How to build your tomorrow today. And it offers beautiful words of wisdom, which I'm going to expand on a bit today and drive home one point that it takes him 10 pages to drive it home, but I'm going to do it in a shorter period of time. One point that's amazing and powerful, but we're not just going to talk about that point. We're actually going to have an experience, a personal experience of that, because that's what really matters. They talk about that the longest journey is the 18-inch journey between the head and the heart. Today we want to travel from the head into the heart and make this real for us. So you may have noticed when you came in that we have something set up here, and we have an altar set over there, and we have one in the back. Those will have something to do with what we will do a little bit later, but that will come when it comes. For right now, we're going to have a little head experience at first. So Ernest Holmes writes in this chapter called How to Build Your Today Tomorrow. He writes at page 190 these words. One of the outstanding things that Jesus taught was that the mistakes of yesterday can be canceled, that no matter what the experience of yesterday may have been, the experiences of yesterday may have been, they can be changed. Jesus did not seem to think that this change required months and years of strenuous effort. Phew, good, I'm glad about that. He knew that God wishes only good for everyone. He knew that we are all rooted in pure spirit, in perfect life, and that at any moment we can so unify ourselves with good, with the power of good, that evil will disappear from our experience. That any moment we can so unify our lives with the power of good, that evil will disappear from our experience. Now, there's a word in that statement that we don't use here very often. We don't care for it. It's the word evil. So I want to define how Ernest Holmes what he meant when he referred to the term evil. And he defines it actually in the glossary of our Science of Mind textbook, the basic book that we use as the fundamental book of our teachings. He writes in that glossary, evil is that which seems destructive. Of itself, it is neither person, place, nor thing. And it will disappear in the exact proportion that we cease using destructive methods. So evil in our Science of Mind context is that which appears to be destructive. So if we were going to replace now the word evil in that passage that I just shared at the end, we would say Jesus knew that we are all rooted in spirit, in perfect life, and that any moment we can so unify ourselves with the power of good that anything that seems destructive will disappear from our experience. Isn't that lovely to know? That at any moment we can make that decision to change our mind, to shift, and that which has appeared to be destructive will no longer have any effect, any impact on our experience. So there is a link between this yesterday, even today, and the tomorrow that we desire to build. And come to Reverend Sandy's book study to really deepen into navigating that gap, that that bridge between the now, or the past and the now, and our future. But today we're going to speak about what is critically important, the link that must occur in that gap. And that link happens in a particular moment. And that moment is when? Now. That moment is now. That moment is today. So the way that we make a change from the past to build the future is in this now moment. My dear friend Mary Morrissey often says that some people live their lives, live 90 years of their lives, but other people live 1 year 90 times. The same year 90 times. So the question is, are we living the same year over and over because we're hanging on to stuff? Or are we, in fact, being engaged in that ever-expansive experience that we came here to have? Knowing that we are finite beings, but made out of the infinite. So in our humanness, we're finite. But we are made from that which is infinite. Therefore, there is always more for us to express. There's always more happiness for us to experience, more peace for us to feel, more fulfillment for us to have, and a deeper sense of our connection with God. So wherever we are, there is more to be. And I don't say that to make us uncomfortable or dissatisfied with the now. Not at all. In fact, we can be very grateful and ought to be very grateful for the now. And at the same time, recognize that there is always a greater way of beingness for us. As long as we're in this life experience, there's a greater experience for us to have. And so as we move in the now moment, we create that greater experience. As we make shifts and perhaps some changes in our consciousness, which we defined a couple of weeks ago and explored again last week. And if you're not sure what that word means, listen to last week and you'll get a little review of it. I won't spend time here this morning to do that. But as we shift our consciousness, the fullness of our being, as we shift that today, in this moment, we build a different tomorrow. Ernest said, I want to give you a couple quotes from Ernest today. He said, since today is the only day in which we live, and yesterday has forever passed, the change that we need to make within ourselves must be made today. We cannot go back over the past and relive it. We cannot make adjustments to the past. We have to make them in the present. It is not going to do us any good to sit around and cry over the past or bemoan our fate, because in the very day in which we are living, we are creating our tomorrows, which will become monotonous repetitions of yesterday if we sit around and bemoan our fate and cry over our past. So today is the time in which we should cut loose from the threads of our past experience, if they were negative, wherever they were negative, and deliberately make up our minds that we shall no longer create our future out of the old past. And so today, that's what, amen, I'm seeing an amen to that. That is what we're going to do today. So Ernest says in this wonderful chapter that there are a couple of ways that we might do this. And he actually discusses the fact that we must have a concrete, direct method for doing this. We must have a method. We must not just, it won't work to just say, okay, yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. We must be actively engaged in something. And so today, I want to give you some passages and really look at where we are with these that will help us today make a shift, today make a difference. And then we're going to take that into a really deep and beautiful, profound ceremony or ritual, if you will, to really anchor that. So here are some of the statements that Ernest Holmes says that we ought to have in our minds and in our consciousness, that these are the things that when we do these today, our tomorrow will be built on a different foundation, and we'll have a different experience tomorrow than just a repeat of the past. So his first one is, I live each day knowing it is complete and perfect within itself. I live each day knowing that it is complete and perfect within itself. Now that's beautiful, isn't it? It's gorgeous. And I just want to check. I just want to ask. This is rhetorical. You do not have to answer this. But do any of us have the yes but syndrome? Do you know the yes but syndrome? That's one word, by the way, yes but. It's an adjective, the yes but syndrome. Actually, we break it down to yes but. So, so when I say something like having the idea that I live today in knowing that it's complete and perfect within itself, is there that little voice in your head that says, yes, but I'm not, because my situation right now isn't perfect. I'm challenged with this situation that I'm having in front of me. So this today, now tomorrow may be perfect, but today, not so much. If that pops up for you, you have the yes but syndrome, and it's a deadly disease. And I want to eradicate that disease from you right now. I'm going to be your divine physician to pull that out of you right now. Right now, yes. I know we have some real physicians in the room, so give me just a moment to do this as your divine physician this morning to eradicate out of you the yes but syndrome. So as I say a next couple of statements, if you find yourself, if you are really truly honest, and I want you to be truly honest, because we can only eradicate things that we are open to being aware of. So if we try to gloss it over and color code it with, no, I'm supposed to be positive, well, that's all and good and powerful. But if underneath that we have the yes but, not going to work. We've got to get rid of the yes but. So again, notice if a yes but comes up is when I say and invite you to say to yourself, I live each day knowing it is complete and perfect within itself. If you don't think that's true about your life today, then I just want you to breathe and know in a few minutes you're going to get a chance to release that. All right, here's another one where a yes but may want to come in. I know that all the joy there is in the universe is mine now. Oh, isn't that a good one? I know all the joy in the universe is mine now. Oh, yes, but I woke up not feeling very good, really. And I'm a little bummed about the XYZ that happened. And not today. Joy, no. Maybe I'm sort of okay today. But no, not joy. There we go. It's time for a shift. It's time for a change. It's time for a release of that. And a release of whatever might be causing us to feel that today is not a day of joy. To feel that we can't today say, yes, all the joy there is in the universe is today mine. We want to let that go. So here's another one. I live today in praise and thanksgiving. I know that today is the day I recognize the divine bounty and eternal goodness that are mine now. Ooh, that's a mouthful, so I'm going to say it again. Yeah. I live this day and every day in a day of praise and thanksgiving. I know it is a day in which I recognize the divine bounty and eternal goodness here and now. Well, yes, but I got some bills, big bills hanging over me right now. I got big bills. I don't know how I'm going to pay those. So I can't be grateful today. I'm not going to praise the divine bounty and the eternal goodness today. Not today. Maybe tomorrow. You want to build tomorrow? Tomorrow. You want to build a tomorrow where a big bill comes and you go, a piece of cake. I got plenty to pay that. We live today in praise and thanksgiving and in an awareness, a deep awareness that divine bounty and eternal goodness are ours today. The last one that Ernest Holmes says to bring into our beingness, to create, to build that tomorrow that we desire is, I live today as though God were the only presence and the only power in my life. I live today as though God were the only presence and the only power in my life. Yes, but I got this condition that seems like a pretty big presence and a power in my life right now. It's getting a lot of my attention. Maybe it's physical, maybe it's relationship, maybe it's financial. I got this big condition. It's getting my attention. That's a yes, but. We want to release our yes, buts. Absolutely let them go. So take a breath. If you found yourself in any of those, there's no guilt. There's no shame. There's no beating yourself up. We don't do that here. Hallelujah. Thank you, God. We don't do that here. And it is just time for us to recognize that it's time for our yes buts to get out of the way. I gave a sermon a long time ago, and I wanted to look it up and see what I said. I remember the title, but I want to see what I said, and it was in 2006. So first service said I ought to just bring it back and give it again because, even if you were here, you probably don't remember it. I didn't remember it either. But I love the title, and the title was Get Your Big Butt Out of the Way. And it was spelled B-U-T, by the way, just to be very clear. Get your big yes but out of the way. And when we advertised that title, one of our staff members, actually it was Sarah Bonfig, came to me and says, oh, I've got a great acronym for BUT. It's bloated, undermining thoughts. Get your bloated, undermining thoughts out of the way. And of course, that is inspired by, and those of you who have taken Roots will know this, those of you who take Roots will then learn this, that is inspired by a Ralph Waldo Emerson statement that says, get your bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. I love that phrase. Now, our egos might not like that phrase. We're like, well, I don't have bloated nothingness. Don't tell me I have bloated nothingness. Well, our yes buts are our bloated nothingness. Our holding on to the mistakes of the past, that's bloated nothingness. Our belief that we are, not perfect, whole, and complete, exactly as we are, and we may not be expressing it perfectly, but we are that. That's bloated nothingness. We got to get that out of the way so that the divine circuits of God that lives in us and through us can fully express. Those are our yes buts, and those are the big buts we want to get out of the way. So if you want to hear more about that, would you like that sermon to be resurrected? Yeah, okay, a couple of you would. So you'd come back if I did that. Okay, good. Well, we'll see. I'll look at it. It's old. We'll see. I'll read it and see what it says. Yes buts. We want to get them out of the way. Ernest Holmes, as I said a moment ago, said we must have a clear and direct way, a method to help us bridge the gap between yesterday and today. We must have a method to let go. And this is what causes many of our yes buts. It's we're holding on to old mistakes and errors and things we should have done that we didn't, or things that we did do that we shouldn't have, or things we said in a relationship we wish we hadn't, or ways we'd been with an employee or an employer that we wish we hadn't. All this regret and ways that we are still beating ourselves up with. They're like all those yes buts come from that place, and they're like a ball connected to a chain to our leg, and we just drag it along. We drag, the joke dragging Harry, right? I don't want to tell it because it's just so horribly, horribly bad. It's a horribly bad joke, and you would never want me to tell a horribly bad joke, would you? You need to be really... All right, well, only if you see it's your fault. You have asked for this. So there was a foursome out golfing. 4 guys love to golf together. They golf all the time. My apologies to anyone if this is offensive, and you especially. Anyone. So they're golfing, and all of a sudden Harry has a heart attack, and he drops over, and he dies. So the guys didn't know what to do, but all right, so hours and hours and hours and hours later, they finally make it to the golf, they're done, and they go into the, what's it called, the golf clubhouse, thank you. They go into the clubhouse, and everybody's like, what in the world happened to you? Why did it take you so long? Why did it take you so long? And they said, well, on the 5th hole, Harry died, had a heart attack, and after that it was hit, drag Harry. Hit, drag Harry. Hit, drag Harry. It's an awful, awful joke. Awful joke. But that's what we do. We drag Harry around when we are not forgiving ourselves for something in the past, or the past which was yesterday or 5 minutes ago, that maybe we are beating ourselves up still about. And I know in this room that there's at least somebody that's doing that. And all of us perhaps have a little something that we're still hanging on to. Today, I say, is the day to let it go. Because when we let that go, our yes buts will start to disappear. Ernest Holmes says that the evil will disappear. Our destructive methods, those are our yes buts, will absolutely disappear. So we're going to, in a moment, do a method. As I said, Holmes said we need to have a method, a direct method. So we're going to have a method here. He also said in this method we should know that all the power of the universe conspires for our good. So we're going to know that behind this method, the universe is conspiring for our good. So before we get there, I want to share with you one more story. Don't need you this time, Dave. Just putting you on notice. And as I'm telling it, I want you to be thinking, what in the world does this story have to do with releasing the past, with releasing any negativity we may be dragging around like we're dragging Harry. What does the story have to do with that? Because I'm going to ask you at the end if you can tell me that. So it's a parable. Jesus liked to teach in parables, so this is a parable of a little girl named Jenny who was 5 years old. And she and her mom were at the Walgreens, and you know how they have all the little tchotchkes and things right at the counter, so it grabs your attention and you have to have something. So right there at the counter was this really beautiful box that was open. It was lined in pink, shiny paper, and in the box were pearls. Well, paste pearls, not real pearls, but pearls. And Jenny says, "Oh, Mom, look at those pearls. Can I have those pearls?" And Mom picks up the box and looks at the bottom and says $1.99. Paste pearls, we know for sure. So Mom says, "Well, Jenny, sweetie, they're $1.99. That's almost $2. And I know you have a little bit of money in your piggy bank, and your birthday's coming up, and Grandma usually sends you $1. And I bet there are a few chores around the house that I could have you do. You could earn some money. So I would imagine that pretty soon you could earn enough and you could buy those pearls yourself." Jenny's all excited. "Okay, I'm going to buy my pearls myself." So they go home and she cracks open her piggy bank and finds 17 cents. So she's got 17 cents toward her $2. That evening, she does a couple of extra chores for Mom. Mom assigns her a few chores and Mom gives her some money. Sure enough, in a week, her birthday comes. Grandma gives her a whole $1. She goes to the neighbor and asks the neighbor if she could pick dandelions in the yard for a fee. And the neighbor said yes and gave her a few more pennies. After a couple of weeks, she had amassed enough money to get the pearls, and she was so excited. So off she and Mom went to the drugstore to get her pearls, and she bought them. And she loved them. She wore them everywhere she went. She wore them to school, preschool. She wore them to church. She wore them to vacation Bible school. She wore them when she was playing with her friends. She even wore them to sleep in. The only time she couldn't wear them, and it's only because Mom made her take them off, because Mom said if they got wet when she went swimming or took her bath, they'd probably turn her neck green, and so she didn't want that, so that's the only time she took them off. Wore them all the time. Little Jenny had a very loving father, and every night he would come into the bedroom to tuck her in, to tell her a story and kiss her goodnight. So one particular night he goes in, and after he read the story, he says, Jenny, you know how much I love you, don't you?" She says, "Yes, Daddy, I know how much you love me." And he said, "Jenny, do you trust me?" And she says, "Oh, yes, Daddy, I trust you." "Well, then may I have your pearls?" And she's like, "Oh, no, Daddy, not my pearls. You can have Princess, my favorite doll, my favorite horse doll, the one with the pink tail. You can have her. Princess, you can have her, but please, Daddy, don't take my pearls." Daddy said, "That's okay, sweetie. Don't worry about it. I love you. Have sweet dreams." He gave her a kiss. A couple nights later, it's their normal ritual, but after the ritual of reading the story, he said, "Jenny, you know I love you, don't you?" "Yes, Daddy, I know that." "And can you trust me?" "Yes, Daddy, I trust you." "Well, then, Jenny, give me your pearls." "Oh, no, Daddy, please, no, not my pearls, not my pearls. You can have my favorite dolly, the one I just got for Christmas that you and Mommy gave me. You can have that. It's the one with the yellow outfit, the yellow sleeper that goes with the yellow blanket. You can have her." Daddy says, "That's okay, Jenny. Don't worry about it, sweetie. It's okay. Good night. Sweet dreams." A couple nights later, Jenny's waiting for Dad. When he walks in, she's sitting on her bed, cross-legged. A little tear going down her eye, a little quivering of her chin. And her dad says, "Jenny, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" She has in her hand her pearls. She says, "Here, Daddy. Here are my pearls." And now Daddy has a tear in his eye. And as he's taking her pearls, he reaches into his pocket and he says, "Here, Jenny, here are some real pearls." Oh, I know. It's such a sweet story. I know. We have to have a little tissue. I know. Michele heard it once already. She's crying. They're crying again. I know. It's so sweet. What does it have to do with anything we're talking about this morning? What does it have to do with anything? Talk to me. Whoa. Trust, and you guys are good. You're good. We must let go of the lesser in order to receive the greater. And yet, it takes some trust to do that. It takes trust to let go of the lesser so that the greater can come into our experience. So that's what I'm inviting you to do today, to trust this process, to let go of the lesser so that you can bring into your experience. You okay now? Okay. So that you can bring into your experience the greater. And this is how the process is going to go. Let me explain it first, and then we'll do it. So in the pew pocket in front of you, in the narrow little areas that have the pins, not in the wider one, there are little sheets of paper, little strips of paper. And if you're on a front row, there's a basket that has strips of paper and pins in it. What I'm going to ask you, don't do it yet, because I want you to be listening to what I want to say. It's important so that you get the whole deal. Yeah. Pay attention, Peter. So on that piece of paper, I'm going to invite you in a moment to write down anything that you believe might be like that ball and chain that is holding you back from creating an amazing, from building an awesome tomorrow. Is it a mistake, quote unquote, of the past that you haven't forgiven yourself? Is it a past experience that you're still angry or hurt over? What might it be? Is it an old belief you've had about yourself? What is it that you want to today let go of? Release the lesser so that you might invite in the greater. Write it down. And then, after you've written it down, you're going to bring it to one of the 3 altars that exist. There's one in the very back, there's one right here, I feel like an airline stewardess, and there's one right here. A flight attendant, I'm sorry, my apologies. A flight attendant, not a stewardess. Arcane language. Forgive me, Tim? Forgive me, Sam. All right, thank you. Yes, I'm going to have to write that one down for myself. Yes. All right. So I'm being your flight attendant. You're going to write it down. You're going to bring it forward or to the back. You're going to take out of the basket that's right there next to the table a tea light. They're all new, so you might have to lift up the wick a bit. You're going to light the wick to the candle, which will be lighted at the time. You're going to light your candle, and then you're going to take your piece of paper, turn it over so that the words are face down, place it on the table, and place your candle on top of it. All right? And as you do that, you're either going to out loud, if you want, I love out loud, it's powerful, or internally, you're going to repeat this affirmation. All the power of the universe conspires to support me in releasing the past and building a beautiful tomorrow today. All right? So you come up, you light, you place your paper down, your candle on top. The only logistical thing I ask is if you're up first or you're one of the first, you place your candles toward the back or the center so that those who come after you don't have to reach over a lit candle with a piece of paper, not safe, so that they can put theirs in front of yours, all right? So I want to check and make sure that that makes sense and there aren't any questions. Anybody have any questions about that? You got it? You're, once again, writing down anything you want to release that you feel might be holding you back from creating that tomorrow that you desire to build. Write them both. Write 2. You can write 2. You can get 2 candles, too. Great question. All right? So now we're going to have a little releasing music, and I invite you to begin writing. And as you're doing that, I'm going to ask our ushers to come forward as I light this center candle. And they will light the other candles. Just whenever you're ready, you may come forward or to the back table. You can go around the sides to the back. Several can be at a table at once. Let it be. You're welcome. then as you come back, because you've created a void, a space, I would just sit in contemplation of that tomorrow that you are building. But don't contemplate it as tomorrow. Contemplate it as today. Build it in your mind, in your heart, in your feelings today. What does that dream of tomorrow look like? See it in your mind's eye. Experience it in your body. So just be present to your dream, your desire, that which is on your heart to experience next in this life. Be present to that as you have created a void through this release. We want to refill it now with the next turn around that spiral of evolution that you are on. So as we know now, that which has been getting in the way of the divine circus, as we know now, that has been released, as we have engaged in a definite and direct method to do that. We simply know that that void we have created within us is now being refilled with a consciousness that says, yes, I know that the only power and the only presence there is the power and presence of God. Yes, I live today in praise and thanksgiving for the divine bounty and the eternal goodness that is mine now. I now live in a place knowing that the full joy of the universe is my joy now. And I absolutely live in the knowing that God, the infinite presence of life itself, lives in me here. This is what we know. And this is how we infill that place that has been opened through our release. And in that knowing, in that awareness, we create, we build this most beautiful tomorrow. This tomorrow that is expansive happiness, that is deep and abiding peace, that is fulfillment beyond our even wildest dreams, and that it is deeply, deeply connected with an absolute knowing of who and whose we are. So in this experience today, we let it be. And as we let it be, we call it good. Oh, so very, very, very good. And so it is.